From the haunted backroads of America, this is your Shadow Nation.
Hey, welcome back, good people of planet Earth, and of course to our good friends in the cosmos. I'll be your host for the next hour plus, GhostMan Shaun, the best in the Midwest, broadcasting live from the crossroads of America. This is your place for the strange, yeah, the Shadow Nation, baby. It's been so long. It feels so good to be back here in this seat, in the driver's seat, trugging right along. Everybody, I missed you. God, did I miss you, Shadowites out there. Big fans of the show. Oh, my God. I think this is one of the longest breaks I've ever taken. It's been crazy, guys. I got to tell you, tonight we got an amazing guest. I got an amazing guest lining up for you. Going to get right back to it and give you your due. Because I want to say to each and every one of you out there, thank you so much. You guys who have all stood by me through thick and thin. And all the time that I've had to take off. I tell you, I lost Dad about 4 weeks ago. One of the hardest parts of my life, right? And I wanted to, the whole time I was thinking, I got to get back on air, and I got to get through this on the podcast with my family, right? Family fans. Because you guys are more than just fans. You're family. All over the world. I creep into your bedrooms, your workplaces, your cars, everywhere you listen to us. Listen to me and you hear my voice. I can feel it. I know I'm with you guys, and I'm with you through your hard times and your good times, and that's what I wanted to get involved with podcasting for, because when I was going through divorce, whatever, I had a podcast that I would listen to, and those guys on the podcast made me feel, even though they didn't know me from Adam, they made me feel like I was part of something. And that's what I wanted to do, and hopefully that's what I relay to you guys, and I want you to feel that way, because you guys are very special to me. If I see you on the street, you come up to me, you say, hey, Shaun, love the show, man. I'm going to go grab you a beer. I'm going to go buy you a beer, because I love you guys. Anyway, summer is in full swing. The clouds are big, blue, and puffy in the blue sky. And summer's right upon us, the hottest part of summer, right? July, August there. And grass is growing, and people are on the golf course and getting all that stuff done. But soon, Old Man Autumn will approach. The leaves will turn fiery red and orange, and they'll tumble to the ground, and it'll be in the air. Oh, Halloween, the spooky time of the year. Even if they cancel Halloween this year, they can't cancel the spirit of Halloween. You follow? You guys follow me, right? Listen to me again. Even if COVID-19 hysteria cancels Halloween this year, you cannot cancel the spirit of the autumn season. So you guys know one of the big topics on this show, I've tried to start it over the last year, was Dillinger Days. And of course it was John Dillinger, something very dear to my heart, because growing up I used to go to the Dillinger Museum. Of course, John Dillinger, legendary bank robber. And next to his wax figure in the coffin, there was a picture of my great aunt and him leaning up against an old car. And I remember my dad said, there he is. That's your great aunt right there. There she is. So it was always a thing in my family that John Dillinger and my aunt went out and they had good times, rock and roll, and I always thought, wow, how cool was that? Because, I mean, who didn't growing up when we were playing cops and robbers? I didn't want to kill nobody. But I want it to be John Dillinger. I want it to be slick back hair, man, the hot rod cars, gets the girl, and bang, bang, shoot him up, get the money, and go. Right? I wanted to do that. Either I wanted to be John Dillinger or I wanted to be the cop. So I started following Dillinger because I live out here in the Midwest, Indiana, and that's where John Dillinger grew up, and I know where his farmhouse is. It still stands today. And there's something going on here locally, because the family last year announced that they wanted to exhume Mr. Dillinger's body, Johnny Dillinger, because there has been long-time reports that the FBI, the lady in orange, it was a common misconception, it was the lady in red, but she actually wore an orange dress. She betrayed John Dillinger. They got him outside the Biograph Theater in Chicago, and the FBI agents bum rushed him and killed him, shot him dead in the alley. Now, it's been said for years and years and years that back then in the 30s, that was not John Dillinger. People even at the funeral were quoted as saying that wasn't him. But then again, some people said his own father said it was him. So it's a huge mystery. And I tell you what, the mystery keeps getting thicker and thicker and thicker today in 2020. And tonight's guest is going to bring us up to speed. So without further ado, I guess I already said it, but I'll say it again. Tonight's guest. Since the days of old, the Dillinger mystery has remained just that, a mystery. Some people say the body inside the tomb, marked only by John H. Dillinger. And the Dillinger family plot is not the legendary bank robber, but it's someone else. Others say that the tomb is empty. Tonight, we're going to find out all. Because in studio, we have the great nephew of John Dillinger. Please help me welcome Mr. Travis Thompson to studio.
You want to believe how many people, because I'm the great nephew, my father's the nephew.
Right.
And you want to believe how many people from around the world
Oh, yeah.
is so interested in this that, you know, they're like asking me, I'm getting messages on Facebook, not as much as I was, not when the news first broke, but occasionally I still will be like, hey, you guys selling tickets? I'm like, this isn't like a, this isn't a sporting event.
Right,
I mean,
man.
you know,
This is my family, dude.
I mean, yeah, we want it to be brought to the public. I mean, but we're after the truth for the family. I mean, yeah, you know, we had a network involved, we had a production company involved, and, you know, all that kind of fell to the wayside. And we're continuing our investigation. I mean, we're still all working very hard on this. And because, you know, the fame and fortune or whatever the people want to say that why we're doing it, it has nothing to do with that. It's to really to show the truth and to really put John to rest. You know, we've had some negative and positive feedback from the public, as you can imagine how everything is. Everyone, and you know, I want to listen to everyone's opinion. You know, good, bad, or indifferent. I might not agree with it, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind the feedback. I'm a part of all the Dillinger fan pages on Facebook, and you know, I've had, you know, people, oh, they're just doing it for the money. I'm like, did you read anything about John? Like, they questioned his death the week he was supposedly killed in, you know?
Absolutely.
I mean, for 86 years now, there's been that lure around his death. Did they really get him, or was it an imposter?
Well, I got some insider information. That's something I wanted to cover, Travis, because when I was a kid, you know, and I've told you all about this, we had and I know when you was a kid, you went, because you're an Indiana brother like me, down to Old Brown County, and they had a John Dillinger Museum, right?
Yes.
And we used to go every single time we could, and I begged to get to go through there. And it was kind of like a spook house to me at the end, because they had John, the wax figure, laying in the coffin. And, I was a creepy kid, and I went through there. And like I said, there was a picture right by the coffin, because my great aunt dated John Dillinger. I always remember that. Her last name was Dahoney. And she had dated John Dillinger, and they were leaning up against the car. My dad always used to say, "There she is. That's your great aunt or whatever." So, John Dillinger was like a household name in our, with our family. You always heard the stories about Johnny, and so there's a big place in my heart for John, and I wanted to cover that. What was it like for you to start out here? What was it like growing up? Because I know it came to topic. Hey, who was your uncle?
Well, my grandmother is Frances Dillinger. Then she married, so she became Frances Thompson. So my grandmother was the youngest sibling in the family. There was always pictures of John standing in front of the house with the wooden gun and the Thompson machine gun. It always sat there on the TV, or it was, there was other pictures in Grandma's house. And
right.
When I was younger, I was like, I really didn't pay attention. When you're young, you'd hear stories and this and that. And, the 1970s movie Dillinger would come on. My grandmother hated that movie. I mean, hated it bad. My father told me him and her went to see it in the theater, and she I mean, it's fabricated beyond belief. There's no truth in that. And she got up and left.
Right.
But, I'd watch it, she would tell me that none of that's true. I mean, like, everything in this movie is false. And, I'd be asking my grandpa and my grandmother, like, who is the guy and, holding the guns and stuff. And, grandma, she would open up a little bit about, a lot of stuff, but, it hit more home to her than it would, the rest of us that never got to meet him. And,
yeah.
So it would be hard to get her to talk about it. But when she would, she would open up a little more. But, I had to get stuff from my dad and my grandpa, more about, your great uncle was the very first public enemy #1 in the United States, and he was a bank robber. And, I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Right.
And, growing up, I watched, all the mob movies and all the gangster movies.
Absolutely.
And, it was interesting, and always in school, like my friends would come over, and they would see pictures of John, and they'd be like, "Who's that guy? What's up with this picture?" And explain to them, and then the only thing I had to show them was the movie Dillinger, and then they thought that was the greatest thing. I'm like, "God, this is entertainment only. Like,
right.
Don't take this at face value." And when I got into high school, my freshman year, I took Indiana history.
Okay.
And I went to Mooresville High School, and I did a book report on John, which my history teacher at the time would only allow me to do that. He was like, "Hey, that's his family. He should be the one to do it."
Oh, how cool.
And my grandmother sat with me, and I interviewed her, and we went through a lot of stuff and about the crime doesn't pay tour, and about she got to meet Bonnie Barker's mother on that crime doesn't pay tour, and
wow,
and listen to her stories. And so in high school, then teachers found out who I was, the history ones, asked me questions, and going through school. Now my senior year, right after 9/11 happened, I was a junior in high school. I applied for our police department in the town of Brooklyn, Indiana. Like going places with Dad, Dad really didn't talk too much about John. I had a, kind of pride, because it was just like, okay, we're a relative. It wasn't like a big deal.
Right.
It's not like something you just, "Hey, I'm John Dillinger, a great nephew." It's something you just didn't go around introducing everybody.
Yeah.
There was a lot of kids, I'm 37. There'd be kids my age that wouldn't even know who John was. They'd have to ask their parents or grandparents, that completely understand.
Yeah.
But when I applied to the police department, I was still in high school, and they knew about me. It was hilarious, because they're like, "So, the great nephew John Dillinger wants to be on this side of the fence,"
Yeah, deep into your background check, my friend.
Yeah, and then, every time a bank robbery or something like that would happen on the news, or, all the guys, they give me credit. They're like, "Hey, where were you at?" We
need to question you.
Yeah, but, growing up, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't a big deal. It was interesting. Like, I really, really enjoyed learning about him and all the differences, and especially the different times were, and how the public, loved him, and how the law enforcement definitely did not like him.
Right.
But most of my friends, like I said, most of my friends didn't really care too much about it, even girlfriends. Now, funny thing, about the woman in red, I would, in high school, all the dances I would go to, I always tell my girlfriend at the time, I'd be like, "Hey, you can't wear a red or orange dress to this dance." I'm like, that's kind of bad luck. I don't want to, I don't want to bring that kind of bad juju to our dance.
Yeah, our little family don't do well with red. Yeah.
Yeah, let's not be doing that.
Red or orange, yeah. Hey, tell me about that though. With John Dillinger, Let's talk about the grave site, because when I was little, and as a man, I went out there and did little small clips, and I did the Dillinger days, and I was going to lead up to the exhumation. And when this first came out in the newspapers, before I had got to meet you and find out how fascinating you are, I had always been fascinated with John Dillinger. And I went to the Slippery Noodle. I did a short video about the bullet holes. I went upstairs to the speakeasy portion where John, they said, had a little bitty cubby cut out in the floor there where he would keep a gun or some money or something when he was with the gals up there. The stories I heard. And I went to Crown Hill, of course, and went to the cemetery. Tell me some of the inside family secrets that you know, like how was John buried? I mean, there's so many things floating around, like somebody offered your great-great-grandfather money for his body, and there was stuff put on top of John underground. Can you tell us anything about that?
That John was being buried, or supposedly being buried. My great-grandfather had been approached to, I think it was like a person that dealt with like a traveling show or some kind of business, but offered him $500 for his son's body to put on display. Wow. And sometime after that, we're not 100% sure who paid for it, how it came about, because my great-grandfather couldn't afford $50 for the embalming fee, okay?
Right.
So to put concrete over him, that would have been a lot of money. Yeah. So we're not 100% sure who paid for that.
But it's definite?
Yeah, there's definitely concrete there.
Okay.
To our knowledge, there's 4 feet of concrete, and how we understand it is concrete slabs. Like you have the vault, and then on top of the vault, supposedly, is the concrete slab. So they weren't just, pouring concrete, they had put slabs in. And that's really all I know. Grandma always said the concrete was there, but we don't know too much about it until we can, get the exhumation approved.
Right.
We'll find, more about that.
Well, of course, Shadow Nation, for you listeners out there, I'm talking to Travis, and he's the great nephew of the amazing John Dillinger. Of course, a lot of people would say America's first Robin Hood bank robber. I'm sure Travis will enlighten us on that more, but I always heard of him like that he wasn't a stone-cold killer, that, the only time that it was bad for business, that he didn't want to kill people. But I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later. But we're talking about the exhumation and how John Dillinger was buried. And I'm asking Travis about the concrete slabs. It's always been reported that there was 3 concrete slabs. Then somebody had told me chicken wire and some other stuff to prevent grave robbers back in the day. But, yeah, that's interesting, man. I just hope. What do you think the probability is that those might have shifted over the years and crushed the remains?
Okay, so back when Crown Hill was working with us and being friendly, they had told us that there had never been a reported collapse or cave-in on that site. So the integrity of the concrete should still be good. I mean, if you go there, you can tell it's a very solid piece of land. Like, it's not just dirt.
Right.
I mean, you can tell when you're standing there, there's, it's solid. And we asked that question, there had been a sinkhole, or there, anything had happened to the grave site, and they reported no. In the entire history, there's never been one. So I'm assuming it should be fairly, intact. I mean, it shouldn't. I mean, there's probably, some cracks and stuff. Heck, concrete was probably made better back then than it is today.
Yeah, probably. Everything else was.
Yeah, so I'm assuming it's still in great shape. But again, I'm looking forward to finding out.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I work for an airline. Yeah, that's my full-time job. I know a lot of people think I'm rich off the show here, but I got to work, guys, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But the thing about that is, I've talked to a lot of people because we do human remains shippings, and Crown Hill comes in, other people come in. And, I've talked to people about, what do you think would be left with Johnny Dillinger? All these years, what do you think? And they say, well, it varies. If he was entombed correctly, you could have really good. What have you heard? Is people kind of guessed as to what might be left of whoever that is that's in the crypt for DNA?
Yeah, if there's even anyone there.
Right.
And I'm not going to go into more detail about that part. There's some things I'll be able to talk about, but because we are planning on going back to court, there's some things I need to hold, with just the group that's investigating, because Absolutely. I wanted to come out in court during an evidentiary hearing instead of it just being broadcasted to, everyone listening.
Understood, Travis. Of course.
Yeah, but there is. We've heard stories that said that, it depends. I mean, Indiana, it rains a lot. We have rain and snow, and if any water got into the crypt, there's probably not going to be, much left. What we've heard. We've also heard that there's a chance that he might be mummified. If the concrete kept all the water out, there's a chance he might be mummified, but still somewhat recognizable. We've heard, that he might just be skeletal remains. Some say he might not be. And so it's really an unknown of what we're going to find when we get in there. And it's hard. It's a hard decision to want to possibly dig up one of your relatives.
Oh yeah.
But with all the evidence that we have, and there's something I'm going to tell you and your audience that no one's really heard before, and it's huge.
Oh.
It's big news.
All right, baby.
Yeah. and I want this out there because the mainstream media is not reporting this, and we've told them about it, but they're not wanting to rock the boat, I guess. So, during our investigation, we're working with a production company, and we were wanting to kind of put all of the history, not just to prove who it was or not in the ground, but also locating some of the missing money and kind of tracking the whereabouts. Because I was able to get the FBI files, and also we were working with a retired FBI agent, Stuart Fillmore, and he's been an absolutely great help on this case by getting further files that we weren't able to get a hold of. But it's like I've always heard my grandma say that she was for sure it was him. And you start reading the FBI files, and then you find out in the files that they were continuing to look for him into the mid-'60s. And then, you're working with Crown Hill, and they're all on board with it. There were a little, questions and concerns about this is going to be a huge profile case, and, people are going to flock in. And, I understand they don't want a circus going on at the cemetery. Nor do we. That's not something, I don't want anyone's loved ones disturbed, or, anyone that, who's resting there to be disturbed. That's not anything I'd ever want.
Sure.
They're working with us. They're very friendly with us. I'd stop by periodically while I was on duty and talk to them, and they're friendly. Well, one Monday, they decided not to work with us anymore. And I heard a rumor, and this is some of the news that a lot of people aren't hearing. Now, this is unproven, okay? So this is just hearsay, but supposedly an FBI agent or FBI agents showed up at Crown Hill and asked for all the files they had on Dillinger. That day, they stopped working with us. They stopped working with us immediately. I heard through sources this really happened. We can't prove it, okay?
Right.
So then, you start scratching your head. Well, 85 years later, why are the FBI worried about a closed case?
Exactly.
So then we start, my father starts applying for a permit from the Indiana State Board of Health. They signed statements saying that they weren't contacted but once, but several times by the FBI.
Wow.
Trying to get them to stop issuing us a permit. So, we have an unproven maybe an FBI agent or agent showed up at Crown Hill. But we have statements from the Indiana State Board of Health that the FBI has contacted them to get them to stop issuing us permits. Why would that be? Why would they be trying to do that? So
exactly,
there's something hinky with that grave.
And another question I have, what right does the Indiana legal system have to tell the families that they cannot exhume a loved one for this good reason when they've allowed other people to exhume families all over that cemetery for years?
Yes, there is a little law that because, okay, so we're wanting, the first time we went, I'm not going to get into how we're filing the second time.
Sure.
Because they need to find that out when we do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But, and I don't have anything against Crown Hill. I mean, they're having some problems with the FBI.
Right.
Maybe they're getting some heat, so they're stopped working with the family. But there is the little law that, why we were filing to just exhume for identification purposes only. Okay. So the cemetery does have that right to say no. I mean, technically, I don't believe they should, but they do. So we lost that court battle. But during the court, our court hearing, the judge was pretty upset with Crown Hill. And, he wanted to rule in our favor, but the law, basically tied his hands. And he pretty much kind of told us how we should come back and win it. Crown Hill snuck out of there. I mean, their attorneys snuck out of there, got away from the media, got out of there. I'm like, if you were wanting to tell the public why you were wanting to stop the family, wouldn't you go in front of the media and get maybe the public on your side?
Absolutely.
To me, that showed their character. Why are you sneaking out? We went to the media and talked to them. We didn't try to hide. We're not trying to really hide anything. I mean, John is a public figure and a historic figure. And I believe it's not just our family's right. It's historical's right to figure out the truth.
Absolutely.
And if there is an imposter that was killed in 1934 and is buried there, we need to figure out who that is and get him to where, that person needs to be. And I don't hold, and me and the family don't hold any ill will towards Crown. If Crown Hill knew that they buried an imposter back then, that was 86 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't hold any bad, feelings towards them. I mean, what they did, which back then, that's fine. I don't have any issues with the FBI, whatever they did. But why are you getting involved in basically a family's matter? Just try to stop us from exhuming the body. So, to me, that, as an investigator, or previous investigator, a law enforcement officer, that to me is a clue.
Absolutely.
Why are you fighting us?
Yeah. And
you're being secretive. See, we've told the media this. My father was just on WTHR last week. They edited that part out when he brought that up.
Amazing.
So, yeah, right? And I'm like, it needs to be out there. If you want to make the family look like we're out here just trying to dig up our family members for the fun of it, you need to show both sides of the story here.
That sounds like exactly what they're trying to do, Trav. They're trying to act like you guys are just out there trying to make money or something off of this. And anybody that knows anything, nobody's trying to get rich here, man. Like you said, historically, don't you want something to be accurate? I mean, that's a huge mystery. They will let Geraldo do a whole thing on Al Capone's vault when we were kids, but they won't allow this from the actual family.
Yeah, it floored me about how, but they're wanting to be secret. And here's another thing that kind of piqued my interest. I mean, I used to work for the government, and I've got we got a retired FBI agent working with us on this case, and the FBI started tweeting. Why are you tweeting against the family? Like, I don't know what family, basically what, I don't know what evidence they have, but we checked fingerprints and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
in 1934 to verify it was John. Why would you? The FBI doesn't tweet about anything.
Right. I seen that.
You know, they're pretty much stay out of it. You know, if they have a big case, they might put something up. You know, they want to get their kudos when they have, you know, a good case or a good bust. So why are you tweeting about an 80-something-year-old case after the family's just trying to find out the truth? I don't care what the FBI did 86 years ago.
Right.
I personally don't. Let's just, you know, put it out there. I mean, let's just figure it out. I mean, it's all right as a family member to make sure the right guy is buried with my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother. You know, I mean, my grandmother, I mean, she believed it was him. She never shared anything with us to think otherwise. But, you know, she was only 12 years old when he was killed.
Now, she's the one that actually was recorded as saying she remembers Dillinger telling her to go get his vest out of the car, right? And she'd bring back a bulletproof vest.
Yes. That family get-together when they had what everyone wants to call the family reunion, which it was just a Sunday dinner.
Yeah.
You know, he when he was there with Billy Fichette, when I was doing my report, Grandma said that, you know, John, as a joke, said, "Hey, run out to the car and get my vest." And, you know, it was a lead vest. It's not like our soft body armor today.
Right.
And she had to, you know, drag it up there, and you know, he was laughing at her and cutting up with her. And a lot of people don't know, John named my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Frances. You know, he picked, you know, the name, and when he would write home, he'd always ask about how the family's doing and how Frances and Doris and everyone was doing at home, because, you know, my grandfather, then he had his two young daughters there with him on the farm. But yeah, Grandma, she had said, even when he was there, that she jumped up on his lap and busted open a wound from a bullet hole where he was shot, and they had to patch him up while he was there. And then she felt bad about it because, you know, she said he started bleeding everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know, the stuff that she went through as a child, you know, it was just amazing. And she was such a wonderful woman. And, you know, just to see how she took all that in and strived on with her life.
You know, you said the first Dillinger movie that came out, where your grandmother was kind of teed off. She got up, she said, "I'm out of here. This is all BS." What about the John Dillinger? I'm sorry. What about the Johnny Depp version, Public Enemy? What do you think?
Well, we all went to the theater and seen it together. Me and my grandmother, my father, and my wife. We went and seen. We got to watch it together in movies theater, and you know, the facts in that movie, a lot of it's messed up. The timeline's messed up, but other than that, it's a pretty good movie.
Right.
Now, Grandma said that Johnny Depp played her brother really well. Like, that was the best depiction of him on film that she had seen.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, she really thought Johnny Depp did an outstanding job, and so did we. I mean, obviously, we never got to meet him, so we didn't get to see, you know, how it was. But, you know, she really liked his portrayal of her brother.
You know, the public consensus, though, wasn't that John was a cold-blooded murderer. It was that he was a down-home, baseball-playing, all-American kid that made a mistake and got a bad rap. And as a man, you know, with the White Cap Gang, got famous, the Jackrabbit, by jumping over counters and stuff. I don't know. What stories have you heard? Was he a cold-blooded murderer or insane person?
No.
What does people say?
Absolutely not. I mean, and I feel for all the officers and agents that were killed in the line of duty that were chasing the gang.
Absolutely.
You know, but John had wrote home, and he said, "Don't believe," you know, to his father, "Don't believe everything you read in the papers." In the FBI files, we can almost prove John was seen. They were tracking John in Florida at the exact same time that Officer O'Malley was killed. Okay. Right. So there's absolutely no way he was in East Chicago doing that holdup when he was in Florida. There's no way.
Right.
And I truly believe, he said he fired his weapon. I believe that. But I truly believe when he said he didn't kill anybody. His dad and him in the letters seem pretty close. Like, I don't see that he would lie to his father.
That's also curious because everyone's always said that him and his father had a broken relationship.
My grandmother never said that. She never said her father laid a hand to him.
Right.
As that's portrayed in even in the Johnny Depp movie, The Public Enemies, the part where he first meets Billy Fichette, that his dad beat him. Grandma disagreed with that statement totally. And what I believe he was probably a stern man.
Sure.
But Grandma said he never raised a hand to them. So I don't truly believe that. I mean, if people can read the letters, and we have them, we've read the letter. There's a lot of emotion there. I mean, there's while he's writing to his father. I mean, there's you can tell they have a pretty close relationship, and he feels bad for the stuff that he's done because it's bringing grief to his father and family, and you can tell that.
In the letters that you've gotten to read, not many people have. Does it sound like a man, like you said, he shows remorse, but does it sound like if he had a chance to break free and to start over, he would have said, to heck with this, I'm going back to normal? Or did it sound like, this is what it is and I got to play this out?
Him and Billy were planning on starting over and living a straight life. He was planning on paying for Billy's divorce, and they were planning on running away together. Man. And I believe, he was going to start over, and that's kind of what Grandma said. They completely plan on, living a straight life, and I think he just got caught up in everything. I mean, as a con, back when he got out, the town turned against him. You couldn't find a job. It was during the Great Depression. It was hard enough for a person without a criminal record to get a job. Alone someone with a criminal record, so he kind of got mad at the system. The judge threw a book at him and put him in there, and he learned, he basically went to bank robbing school. He was in there with the best of the best.
Right.
Some of the most hardened criminals, there could be, and so he learned.
Isn't that what he said in Public Enemy? I had to go to prison to become a bank robber, to be a professional criminal.
Yeah, it was just different times. It'd be no different to today. But now there's, they help, ex-cons and stuff try to find a job.
Right.
There's programs in place for that. Back then it was just you're on your own.
He would have never
you screw up,
seen jail time today for what he did. Never. And
no.
Yeah, and the filth that walks our streets today that should be buried under the prison is just shocking what Dillinger got back when he was a young boy that made a mistake.
Yeah, well, I always carried that with me when I first got in law enforcement was, is there a way that I could give someone a break?
Right.
Instead of just, stacking charges on somebody. Is there a way that I could, maybe let this charge go, but I'm going to have to charge them with something here? Something more lenient that a prosecutor could plea down. I always was in my head because you don't know when the person you're locking up, especially if it's their first offense, what's the rest of their life going to be? Are they going to, just because, they might have done something really stupid, but is there a way? Sometimes, you had to charge them with everything just because they didn't want to cooperate or whatever.
Right.
But, you don't know what the rest of their life's going to be because of this one moment. Everybody can screw up. Everyone's that one mistake away from either being on the wrong side of the law.
Absolutely.
And so, John, he screwed up. And so, he listened to his dad and thought he'd get a plea deal first time, and the judge didn't have nothing of it, even though, the town and even Frank Morgan, the shop owner that he robbed, they wrote a petition the less in his time.
Yeah.
And, no one wanted to have that. So,
well, hey, brother, I know we're running out of time. I want to get this in there real fast because you gave me something special.
Yeah.
You gave me information that no one's heard before, and I'm going to promote that.
Yeah.
So I got to tell you, Travis, I've worked for my job for 20-plus years, and I've seen a lot of people come in, and there's a fish company down south, and they do a lot of shipping on us. And there was an old man. His first name was Dale. I'll tell you his last name after. But he was roughly 97, something like that, and he was still getting around, still moving the freight. He was just remarkable. And I would always go out and help him offload this freight from his truck, and nobody else would do that. So we got real fond of each other, and we'd talk and everything else. He's passed now. But I remember even back then, this has been 10 years ago, I spoke about Dillinger because, he started talking. I'm from Mooresville, Martinsville, grew up that way. And, yeah, John Dillinger, my aunt this and that. And, and telling him the same story I told you about going to the museum and everything. And he said, I got stories all day long about John Dillinger. I said, you got to be kidding me, man. So over the time, he would give me little, glimpses of these stories, little parts of them. And he told me to my face, when we were talking one day about don't go to the movie theater, out there in Chicago. That's what happened to John. He let his guard down. And he said, well, John's not dead. And I said, what? He said, John's not dead. He said, you could ask any of us old timers out Martinsville, Mooresville, because my brother played baseball. And back then, they had a lot of intramural leagues, and I knew nothing about this. And he said John Dillinger was one of the best ball players you ever seen in your life. And after he was supposedly shot, he came back and would play ball with them. Now, that's the story. And he said that people in town knew that they would see John walking around. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, of course, because I wasn't there. But I don't know why Dale would have lied. He was an old man, approaching the end of his life. Yeah. And that's what he said. What do you think about that?
Well, we've heard a lot of stories about where, supposedly he escaped and lived his life out near Mooresville. I've heard that. I've heard, he escaped to Mexico and Canada and some other places, But hopefully we can prove that.
Yeah, absolutely. But you would think he would have went back and seen your grandmother, or You would
have thought. I truly believe that he would have made contact with the family.
Right.
And if that happened, and the family never let the rest of us know,
right.
So be it. But it's a chance. I mean, we don't. There's so much stuff with this, recently, I don't know if you've seen in the news, but my cousin Shane, that's not a Dillinger relative, but he lives on the farm property. Okay,
right.
When we were doing this investigation 2 years ago, we found a map from 1934 of the United States with crazy writing and stuff on it, buried in a mason jar on the Dillinger farm.
How'd you find that? Metal detector or?
Ground penetrating radar, GPR. So the production company, was there, and we filmed it. The FBI agent's actually the one, it was his time to dig, and he hit the mason jar and broke it right in the middle. It's been to a lab. There's some DNA on it. That belongs to my cousin Shane, and I want to put this disclaimer. Shane have everything to do with the map and what we're doing on the property with the investigation, but he is separate from us doing the examination. Like that part, he wants to be separate, and be known that he's separate from that.
I have seen that in the headlines. And then you got a distant cousin, female cousin, that's really mad about it, I think. She came to court to protest. Yeah.
I mean, there's people out there in the family that don't have an opinion or are upset about it. But if they could see what we have, and there's some bad blood in the family. I'm not going to lie. There's some bad blood in the family, and we don't really need to go into all that.
Sure,
but
we all got them.
So yeah, that's why there's only certain family members involved in this, and there's certain families not. But whatever, I believe once we can get to the truth and figure out everything, like the map is a huge historical find. I mean, it's the right age, the mason jars, the right era, from the right era, the right age, the right patina, everything's right on it. I mean, it's right. And it's amazing that we found it.
Was it dated after John had passed? Is that what sparked this interest?
Okay, so when we found it, the map 2 years ago during this investigation, it says 1934, Shell gas station map from 1934. Well, there's dates on this map. I don't want to go too much into it, but there's dates in it that go past his death date. There's, writing and some lines here and there, and we can't really make heads or tails of it.
Right.
But it was buried for a reason. I mean, there's a reason why it was buried. Hopefully we'll be able to, get to that investigation and figure this shit out. I mean, there's a small crew of us where I've got a buddy of mine, Scott Umstead. He's filming part of the project. He's a great individual. His work, he does great work, great film work.
He did a great little documentary he sent me on John. That was amazing.
Yes. Yes, he did. And that's why, we asked him to be a part of this. Once we lost a production company's crews, we were like, we want to continue. I could care less, production company, network, what have you. But any of your listeners that think they can help out in any way, have them get a hold of you, and you can pass the information on to me. I'm willing to listen to any stories, any people that have any information, anyone that could provide any expertise in what we're doing, legal work, anything. I would be open ears to listening to anybody who could help this project, because like I said, there's only me, my dad, Stuart Fillmore, and Scott, and then my cousin Shane is just letting us use the property. So I mean, there's a very small group of us, and
right.
Everyone's like, you guys are looking for money, this is for money. I'm like, we haven't received a payment of nothing.
Yeah, this is volunteers.
Everything we've done, I've spent, time away from my family. I've stayed up nights reading the FBI files, and there's thousands upon thousands of pages.
Yeah.
We've, put this together, and Stuart, like I said, Stuart Fillmore has been a godsend to this project. I mean, he does absolutely great work on helping us understand the FBI files and getting into the mindset of an FBI agent.
Exactly.
So, like I said, we're a tight group. We're doing this all on our own, out of our own money. And, so all the naysayers are saying, no, they're just after fortune and fame. If that was true, we would have stopped once all the TV and Hollywood left.
Exactly.
But we haven't, because I believe the truth means more than a huge paycheck or fortune and fame. Like, we really, really want to get the truth out there. I mean, it belongs to everybody. I mean, it could alter history. If it's truly he got away, that's big news.
Absolutely.
And with the FBI stepping in and trying to block us and roadblock us, that there's something to that. And I hope we can prove, to everyone why that is.
Yeah, and I think the world deserves to know, and especially you and your family deserve to know. It's your right, brother.
Yes, yeah, it is. It is our right to know. I mean, if John wasn't who he was, we this would have been over with. We'd already done the exhumed the body. We'd already done all the DNA testing and done all that stuff, and he would have been back in the ground. Like, it would have been over with. But because of who it is, Crown Hill obviously fighting against us for some unknown reason. It's like, why? Because of a historical figure, why are you standing in our way? Right. Now, it'd be different if I was some great nephew. I'm like, my dad and my Aunt Carol are the closest living relatives left. And then there's a handful of us great nephews and nieces. I'm the youngest of all the greats. And so there's, like, after that, it starts getting spread all over the place. And for family members being this closely related to him, we deserve to know.
Absolutely.
I mean, we got to hear the stories from Grandma, who met the man, who grew up with him, who knew him, who was named by him. And we, so it's like we almost know him. without meeting him. I mean, my father got to meet all the siblings of John, like Hubert, the rest of the siblings. So Dad pretty much felt like he knew him.
Yeah.
By getting to listen to to meet these people, and it's not like it's some distant relative where it means nothing to us. I mean, it means a lot to me. I mean, I know we're not trying to uphold what he did. We're against what he did. I mean, he was a criminal. I mean, he played the game, and obviously or possibly he died by playing that game. The officers back then, that was totally different than what it is today. What you could do towards a criminal.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, they were still they were issuing dead or alive warrants back then.
Well, celebrating crime and a family wanting to know the identification of a loved one is two separate things. And I don't care what the state police or the Indiana government or anybody thinks. It should not be their decision unless they paid for the plot and have blood in their veins from the Dillinger family line. So it's ridiculous.
Exactly.
Because, Crown Hill doesn't own that plot. That plot was paid for by someone that's gone. And now it's in your guys' control. You're the family. So,
yeah. I mean, they exhume. I know there's going to be somewhat difficulty because of the concrete. But a funeral, like them, as big as they are, I mean, they've exhumed bodies. They've, done. They should be experts at doing this without disturbing any of the ground.
They know they can.
This is so what they're trying to tell the public and put out there to me is BS.
Because if they knew their sales could go up even 1%, you better damn well guarantee that they would be out there all over this.
And that's why I don't understand. I mean, we had meetings with them. We were talking to them. We were getting everything ready to go. And then, it's different. Like, okay, they just did a 180 on us. All right, we're not working with you. We're not talking to you no more. But when we have that element that's that we can't really prove,
right,
that an FBI agent showed up. Now, that is a coincidence, though. Supposedly that guy or whoever that was showed up, and then you stopped working with us?
Yeah.
Come on. To me, that's a coincidence.
It's a hell of a coincidence, brother.
It's a hell of a coincidence for that to happen. Then the State Board of Health having the same issue.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I can tie this all together.
Well, I thought the State Board of Health already approved you guys. That was done. You got to do it again?
You always have to get it approved. It have a time limit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Crown Hill kept stalling us, and then we had to go to court, and, it was just, but they told us that they would grant us another permit. I mean, you've granted us, 2 of them already, so there will be no issue with us getting another one.
Right.
I'm looking forward to, I'm hoping, with all the COVID-19 stuff going on, I'm hoping we can get this back in court again soon, because I would like to, hopefully we can, win this case and get this going before, winter isn't too far off. I know we're here in July, but winter's not too far off.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to be able to do it when the ground ain't froze.
Especially, yeah, with them dragging their feet, winter will be here before you know it. So, no, I just wanted to tell you, I love you and I support what you're doing. And if I can help in any way, I'm there, because this is history. And especially it's something dear to my heart, because I grew up here and I've heard about it in the family for years. And I don't know what a radio host can do for you, but whatever I can do, I would be more than happy to do it, man. More than happy.
Oh, no, I appreciate it, and I'm just wanting the public to kind of get behind this, and maybe people can start reaching out to Crown Hill or whatever, and maybe asking them questions. Why are you blocking this? And John got the public behind him 6 years ago. Now we're kind of needing the public to get behind us on a different reason. Instead of hiding a criminal, we need to prove if it's really him or not. And the history belongs to everybody.
Yes, it does.
And it's bad that we've got people standing in the way of it, and it's just sad.
It is sad. It's very sad. But hey, Trav, I'm so glad you came on, brother. I can't appreciate you more. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, what else do you want? The great nephew, Mr. Travis Thompson of the infamous Mr. John Dillinger. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Dee Wallace from E.T. and Cujo and the Howling, and you're listening to Shadow Nation, baby.
Okay, guys, that's going to do it for tonight's show. I know it's short, but I'm just trying to get this one in the books. Next week, we'll be back with instrumental transcommunicationalist Annabella Cardosa. She's a diplomat for Spain to the United States, and she'll be in studio to tell us just what the dead have to say. So with that said, I want to say special thanks to tonight's guest, the great nephew of the legendary bank robber John Dillinger, Mr. Travis Thompson, stopped by studio. Thanks so much, Travis. What an amazing interview, and we will be on the scene looking forward to the updates with the John Dillinger exhumation and that mystery that's unfolding right here under my nose, guys, right here in the cornfields at the crossroads of America. So anyway, hey, remember to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you choose to listen to the show so you can get the up-to-date alerts when new episodes drop. Also, be sure to check out the website at shadownation.com for the latest news. I want to take this opportunity to say special thanks to all our homes, all our sponsors, Spreaker. The world's listening. How about you? They want to know, so check them out at Spreaker.com. And, of course, our good friend Brad over at Creative Zombie Studios. Everything you need for the podcasting world. Be the best. Be creative. CreativeZombie.com. And our friends over at the SYL Project. Give, share. Everybody needs a little bit of love. Check them out at the SYLproject.org. From the haunted back roads of America, this has been another exclusive Shadow Nation interview. Don't go changing America. You know I won't, because I love you. We're back, everybody. Ooh.